right, another question. In addition to its social services, and in addition to the dependence of parents on the schools to care for their students a few hours of the day, education is a big industry. Can we look at the various needs around reopening of schools? How do we balance these various roles of education and schools in this pandemic? Who wants to speak to that? I know we relatively addressed that in the previous questions. Does anyone want to give a different take on that?
Um, there are various needs when reopening the schools, and it's really hard. Like our panelists were explaining, it has to be a collective decision, and unfortunately, there are a lot of individual factors, like say in the school system, if parents have students who are in special education and they have a hard time with online learning, if they have students who have vision issues and they're having to incorporate now this assistive technology that sometimes schools have but parents don't have, and having to figure out how to get those resources. So there's a lot of individual needs, which makes this a very difficult situation, to make an overall decision for, I think, the greater good. I think we could figure out a way to balance it. I think we just need more time, because it's only been 5-6 months here, and schools have worked so hard to balance and restructure already, and we're continuously looking at how are we going to look at all of our students' individual needs, or smaller group needs, such as our students who are in special education, or our students who are English language learners from other countries. How do we help them? And so I think the answer is that we have to get really creative, and I know a lot of schools are, and I know it's not really being, I guess, reported in the news, and so people don't really see that, but schools are. I mean, if you get a bunch of teachers and people in education together, you got the most creative bunch of people you could ever meet. Teachers are very creative. When we all put our ideas together, great things happen, but sometimes great things take time to figure out, so we make sure that we are following the health guidelines, we are addressing those needs. And when it comes to social services, that's hard too, because as a counselor, I not having students in person, where a lot of the times when I see them in person, if there's an abuse situation going on, a neglect situation, anything of that nature, when I see them in person, a lot of times it's easier to determine that. And now that they're online, I don't get to see that as much, so it's harder to get those kids services when they're not coming to school. Um, and so and those things keep you up at night. You sit and think about, oh my goodness, like all my students that help and I don't know, or not reaching out, and now we're having to get creative about, okay, how do we make sure that those students who need help know that they have somewhere to go?
So another posting says, I feel it's just not possible for everybody's needs to be met. Hence, having looked at all the dynamics, I feel the safest option for everyone is the virtual learning. It requires a lot of sacrifices, yes. It's stressful, yes, and so on and so forth. But the bottom line is it's safer for everyone involved, because there's no guarantee that students will be disciplined enough to comply with all guidelines while in class, thereby jeopardizing the health of others. On the part of parents, I'd like them to know that the sacrifice is worth it. These children are the future, and this pandemic shall surely pass, with victory being ours in Jesus' mighty name. So that was a comment. All right, so the next comment, there's a resource that as a nation we are not tapping into, the homeschool experience. I think many parents of preschool age through high school students can borrow ideas from homeschoolers. What are your thoughts? Particularly our teachers, the professor and counselor?
I agree. There's a lot of homeschool communities, and I think that would just be a parent decision. You know, if we can get, if parents say in the school community can group students together in small groups, socially distance them, make sure they're wearing their masks, but have them say in one place where they are doing the homeschooling together, you know, and it be the same students. So you're containing, you know, if say something does happen, you know where it's coming from. But there's a lot to be learned from homeschool parents, and there are a lot of support groups for homeschool parents out there where they all talk to each other. They're giving each other tips and advice. So I think as a parent, it would be great to tap into those resources. You can find them on Facebook forums. You know, you do a quick Google search, you can find different websites that have homeschool resources. So I think that's a great point of view and a great comment to add to the discussion.
Professor Aki, I mean, this question
Yeah.
is for you. How
Mhm.
are you planning to help the international students that are in limbo right now, vis-a-vis the additional stress of being sent back to their countries if classes are no longer in person?
Yeah, I think we answered that question on the text. And that policy that was being promoted, or I think it was an executive order, has been rescinded already because of the lawsuits that some universities launched against the Trump administration and criticism of that policy. So that policy is no longer, you know, it's no longer there. It's gone. I think related to that, probably some students who were already out of the country and can't come back in because planes are not flying or international travel is prohibited in those countries. I think that could be a problem for international students. It's some international students who are staying in the dorms. When dorms are closed, there's a problem of where do they go? Where do they stay, right? So they have to find accommodations for themselves. But I don't think the fear is there now that they will be sent home if all their classes are online. I think that policy has been gotten rid of. Can I make a comment on what Ms. Horn was talking about homeschooling? I've had some students in the past who were homeschooled and they did really great. I think homeschooling is fine. But there is an assumption that every parent can do homeschooling. Not every parent has the skills to do homeschooling. Some parents have to work. They can't afford to stay home and homeschool. You know, whether it's a single parent or two-income family, it's just not an option for a lot of parents to homeschool. So that's, you know, something we need to keep in mind. But those who can do it, who can afford it, and who have the skills, I think it's a good option to consider.
I have one last question for you, Ms. Horn. In a conversation with someone, I'm not sure where this was reported, that last semester, I know, of course, it was not a pre-planned situation. It was said that in one of the school systems, I'm not sure which one, that they found out that up to perhaps something like 20% of the students did not actually log into the digital experience, and nothing was done. It was after the fact. What is Gwinnett County doing, for instance, since you are a part of Gwinnett County, to ensure that there's timely intervention in situations where the students are not actually logging in to do the work, to ensure the parents are aware and there's timely intervention?
Well, yeah, and you're correct in that there is a lot of students who weren't logging in, and we had to really stay on top of them. I mean, we were day in and day out calling families, talking to the students, you know, making sure that they're aware about their classes. You know, we had a whole spreadsheet of kiddos, and we, like I said, thankfully we have those resources. I don't know that other counties do, but we have it where if they were logging on to their eClass page, it would tell you, like, or it would show you whether they were not logging in or they were every day. And so we created a spreadsheet based on that. I mean, the kiddos who weren't logging in for like 3 to 5 consecutive days, we were calling them, and continuing to call them. And that's all we could do at the moment. At that time, we weren't able to, as counselors, speak with our students virtually because we were, confidentiality concerns were there, from them being at home and us being at home, but we could call them. And so that's what we did. And really working with our teachers, they were helpful as well, saying this student hasn't logged in. And so it was always the question of, do you have a device? Do you have internet? And we were finding a lot of the students that weren't logging in did not have those resources. We were finding that a lot of the students that weren't logging in were students who were ELL students, being English language learners, and they didn't know about those resources. So preventatively, I think communication is going to be the big, we're already advertising on our website about, you need devices, if you need resources, this is how to get them. My co-counselor and I, for ninth graders, because our ninth grade babies need a lot of help, we are going to be doing a virtual parent meeting on August 10th, and we're going to be going over all the things that parents need to know. It's a Zoom meeting. So, really just trying to communicate beforehand with parents everything that they need, updating our websites frequently, allowing them, saying, email us, call us, because we'll be in our offices, and make sure that, you feel like you can reach out to us, and we want to make sure that we're doing our job to make them feel that way, just being very open. So I think communication is huge with helping parents, and it's from everybody across the board. It's from our administrators, our teachers, our school counselors nationwide. We need to make sure that we're open for parents and supporting them and supporting, first and foremost, our students.
Very well. Thank you very much.
Ms. Adeshe, if I may chip in and use my host privilege.
Certainly.
Yes. So I was watching, I think, a news item last week, and a particular parent was talking about what they were doing in their neighborhood, and that is to kind of create a support system for one another. So what they did was, well, they're doing it. They're trying to find out, in a subdivision or two subdivisions next to each other, they're trying to find out each other's schedules, the student schedules and all that, so that if they are online, the students have to school online, they are kind of teaming up to, okay, they are in somebody's house for 2 days, or they're in another person's house for 3 days, so that one parent is not overwhelmed 5 days a week, especially maybe you don't even have the option yourself as a parent to work from home 5 days a week. So you can choose the days that you know that you can be home, and those 2 days or 3 days are the days that you have the children, you watch over them, you supervise them. And then the next couple of days, you are able to go out and walk, or to at least catch, your breath and maintain your sanity while they're with somebody else. So they are trying to ensure a situation where no one parent has to supervise more than 2 days a week. So one, that helps you as a parent to not be overwhelmed. Two, if you also have, like, some parents have their, what I call, underemployed right now, they don't have work for 5 days a week, maybe they're only going to work for 2 or 3 days a week. So they have those 3 days where they can really go out to work, and they're still able to have the confidence that their child is under somebody's supervision. So what I'm saying effectively is that this is the time for us as parents to begin to create that support for ourselves. Look out for who is in your subdivision that you can partner with, that you're under. Of course, you have to be careful so that you don't put your children in a situation where it's not safe. So you have to know who you're partnering with. You have to know who you are, having those kind of conversations with, and basically, create help for yourself. The government can't do everything for us. Our school specialists can't do everything for us. We also have to find out what can we do, how can we support each other, so that's what I just wanted to throw in.
Creative solutions. Creative solutions.
Yes, and the children also get some interaction, with their friends or their neighbors,
Very good. So at this time, I'm going to ask each of our panelists to leave us with something, right? What is it you'd like to leave us with regarding reopening of schools? What would you like us to walk away with? Your closing thoughts. I'm going to begin with Professor Akinyemi.
Yeah, thank you for organizing this and for all the participants. This has been very informative for me also. I think for me, this too shall pass. You know, we're all in the same boat. We've heard this over and over again. It sounds like a cliche, but it's the truth. But we also have to do our own job to get good information. You know, don't rely on politicians. This is an election year, so everything is being politicized. And this is not a Republican or Democratic issue. This is a public health issue, and we're all in it together. So get as much information as you can. Visit your school's website, see what they have on there. I don't have kids in public school anymore, but I went on the Cobb County school system website in preparation for this, and they have quite a lot of information on there. For parents, for students and teachers. So be informed and make the best decision for you and your family. But again, this too shall pass. Just stay healthy and be well. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Akinyemi. Ms. Horn, your closing thoughts?
Just from the school perspective, I would say really tap into that open communication with, you know, the faculty at the school, your students' teachers, your students' counselor, you know, really have that open line there, because they're going to be the people that can help you the most, especially when it comes to your student success, how they can help you, you know, and it depends on every single school. I know we've got some people tuning in from different places, but they can give you more specialized advice maybe for your student based on that school system and the local school. So communication is going to be imperative during this time. You know, don't hesitate to reach out, you know, to the people that are piloting your child's success.
Thank you, Ms. Horn. Dr. Aderibigbe, your closing thoughts, please. Would you please unmute? You are muted.
Unmute, please.
You are muted, Dr. Aderibigbe.
Oh, I'm sorry again.
It happens to the rest of us.
So, I'm so sorry about that. No, I said I'll echo Prof's sentiments. I'm really worried about the anxiety and the mental ramifications of COVID itself. I've talked to a lot of my colleagues who take care of grown people. I take care of kids. And there's COVID, and then there's the anxiety that is related to COVID. A lot of people have insomnia. A lot of people, blood pressure is through the roof. And the best thing is do the right thing. Social distancing, wear your mask, do everything that is in your control to limit that issue, and don't go crazy because it's real. Loneliness, depression, all those other things are COVID related, even though they are not like the full-blown COVID itself. Be informed.
All right, so I'm gonna break the rule right now, even though I said closing remarks. So as long as you wear a mask, you can go anywhere and do anything?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Thank you
Absolutely
for clarifying that. And now, Dr. Fuller, your closing thoughts.
I just want to tell people, and I want to piggyback on everything that was said, stay connected. Stay connected to schools. It's important to communicate with the counselors. It's important to communicate with the teachers. Stay connected with the primary care physicians and the pediatricians. Stay connected with the CDC, the guidelines. Stay connected with social groups. Stay connected with the groups within your community. And more than anything else, stay connected with yourself, being aware of what's going on with yourself, meaning so that if you find yourself being anxious or depressed, you can go off and give yourself some time to balance things out. And as the doc said, you know, because this is real. And so we want to look at ways that we can stay connected so that we can better function.
Thank you, Dr. Fuller. And we do thank each and every one of you for joining us today and being a part of this dialogue. We do have some resources that have been made mention of, and I'm sure there are other resources that we'll be able to gather from our panelists today. We will compile those resources, and for those of you who are interested in getting a hold of those resources, we'll be glad to share them with you. And so if you're interested, we will put the PRI contact information in the chat. If someone would please go ahead and type the PRI email in the chat for me and reach out to us and we'll send the resources to you. Again, thank you very much. We hope that you've found some useful information today. And as we get further information, we'll make sure we keep you updated. Thank you so very much and have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Glad to have you here. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Dr. Fuller. Thank you, Professor Akinyemi, Professor Derek Bay, and Ms. Horn. Thank you so much. Nice having you here.
Yes,
Thanks.
thank you for having me.
Mhm.